Good afternoon, folks. This is Robert Chappell, Executive Editor of Madison365 with your daily update for Friday. Happy Friday, January 29th. It'll be probably a pretty brief update today, not a heck of a lot of news, not a lot of big stuff, but the coronavirus news is actually pretty good, as it has been for the past little while here, which is it's really nice to say that. Like, we spent a lot of time over the past 10 months. I feel like I've spent a lot of time bringing you really bad news for the past several months. So it's nice to say, like, yeah, not a lot happened today. That's good. So let's go through a couple of numbers here. And if you have any questions, drop them in the comments. We'll get to them before we get on to the rest of the news of the day. Let me get my little banner going here. So about 7,000 new tests. It's still too low. I mean, the testing is still too low. Let's just be honest about that. In terms of the number of new people getting tested. But it's been consistent, in that sort of sub 10,000 per day range. But that gives us today 1,567 new cases, which is still, our total case count is still getting bigger and bigger and bigger. That sort of daily new case number is still, the average right now for 7 days is 1,392. That's still a lot of new cases, but we're still kind of we're plateaued in terms of new cases right now, if not going down slowly. I'd rather go down faster, but we'll take what we can get, right? The really good news today, there's two pieces of pretty good news today. Number one, the positive test rates are either steady, stagnant, or going down. If you look at the 7-day average, 7-day percentage of all people tested in the past 7 days, that's still 19.3% test positive. That's the third straight day that it's been stuck at that number, which is fine. I'd rather see that going down, but at least it's not going up. Now, the more important number, in my mind, is the positive test rate of all tests, right? Meaning every test that's been done in the past 7 days, including on people who tested more than once, is 5.4% of those came back positive. Since they've been reporting that number a couple months ago, that's the lowest it's ever been, right? Just to give you some sense of how that number has moved. When they first started reporting it, it was like 9 or 10, and then it got up to like 14 at one point in the really bad part of November. At that sort of critical time when we were hitting 7,000 cases a day, right? And the people rate was like 27, really bad. And then it started, and it crested right around 14% and started to come down. And then it came down all the way down to about 8.1. And then after Christmas, there was a little bump, and it got back up over 10 for a couple days. And then it started to go back down, and it's been going down ever since. And that's what I like to see. Now it's down to 5.4. That's the number that we're kind of focused on. That's the number that a lot of policy is driven by. Not in Wisconsin, because we don't have any policy, because our legislator won't make any policy. But like, for example, in New York City, they opened schools and said, if that positive test rate gets up to 3, then we got to close schools again. Like 3 is kind of the tipping point. Other places have said, if we get down to 3, we can open schools, that kind of thing. So Dane County is already under 3 for the 7-day and 14-day averages. So that's great for Dane County. Now, before Madison schools open, I think they want to see that like stay under 3 for a month, right? But statewide, it's down to 5.4. It's on its way to below 3, which is great. And when we get below 3, I'll have a little party or something. I don't know. But it's that trajectory of that number has been very good news, is what I'm trying to get at. And the fact that we've been able to do that without a vaccine and with no state help at all, other than the mask mandate. Not to say there's no state help. I mean, there's been financial help from the state. But there's really no help from the state in terms of mandating, businesses be closed, schools be closed, people stay home, that kind of thing. There's been, obviously some localities have those mandates and those restrictions. Dane County, Milwaukee County, City of Racine. But the statewide mask order is still in effect. But other than that mask order, we've been doing it on our own. Like, we decided collectively in middle of November, we're going to change this. This is too bad. We're going to change it. So we did. So that's great. I'm happy about that. So congratulations, everybody. We're headed in the right direction. We're not there yet. We got to keep doing what we're doing. That's the key part here. The reason I say all that is that we did this. We changed our behavior. We got this. We got these numbers going in the right direction. Now we got to keep them going that way. Right? This is not a congratulations, we did it. It's like, congratulations, we're doing it. We're still doing it. We have to keep doing it. Okay. So, but we're going to get a lot of help from this vaccine, right? So here's what we know about vaccine today. We are now at 90,668 Wisconsin residents have completed the series, have gotten both shots. That's about 7,600 more since yesterday. For the first week or so that they were reporting that, it was about 5,000 a day. Yesterday was like 8,300. Today 7,600. So it is accelerating. All told, there were 50,000 shots since yesterday, which means over 40,000, 43,000 of them were first doses, and then that 7,600 were second doses, right? So the total now is 476,855 doses have been given, which means there's 90,668 people who completed it, and then there's 295,000 people who've gotten that first shot and are just waiting for the second one. So that's a pretty good number. It's we got a long way to go. Like, we're like a little bit over 2% of the population has been vaccinated fully. And another 10 to 20% has been infected at some point, although it's not super clear right now that having been infected confers immunity forever. Right? We're not sure about that yet, but assuming that it does, we're probably at 20, 25% immune in Wisconsin. Really need to get that to about 80 is what I'm hearing. So we do have a long way to go on the vaccinations. So we got to keep doing what we're doing until the vaccinations can get done, right? At the current rate, if we keep doing it at this speed, it'll be about a year probably, right? So we're going to have to ramp it up, and it will get ramped up. I'm pretty confident it'll be ramped up. Now, we also have this new single dose vaccine coming soon. That is a single dose vaccine, but it's not quite as effective. It's 66% effective, whereas these 2-dose vaccines are 95% effective. But the single dose will probably be easy. It's obviously easier to administer to rural communities, easier to administer to transient communities. And it does seem to prevent severe infection. So it may not completely protect you from getting COVID, but it'll protect you from dying of it or getting really, really sick, right? So that'll be rolling out in the coming weeks. Patricia asked a good question. The second sort of round of vaccines here in Wisconsin is starting to go out to, well, we knew that anybody over 65 could get it in the first round, and the second round is more like occupation based, so like teachers and stuff are in the second round, which is terrific. But this is a good question, that if the reason we're vaccinating people over 65 is that they're most vulnerable, most at risk of dying from coronavirus infection, right? But there are significant populations who have underlying conditions, who have pre-existing conditions, who have comorbidities like diabetes, heart disease, high blood pressure, that kind of thing, that can make you more vulnerable to COVID who are under 65? So that's a good question. Like if we're immunizing people over 65 because of their vulnerability, why are we not also immunizing people who have similar vulnerabilities, who are not over 65 yet? And as Patricia notes in the comment also, those people are more likely to be people of color because we know that there are deep and pervasive inequities in health and in healthcare. So that does seem to be an oversight. There are logistical questions. How would you determine that? How would you prove it? But I think we're smart enough to do that. You know what I mean? Like you ought to be able to get a doctor's note to say, like, yes, this person should be vaccinated, or whatever. We did also see a report today of a 33-year-old rich person who sort of jumped the line. People are not. This is Daniel Bice from the Journal Sentinel reported this, that a Bucks executive who's the son of one of the owners of the Bucks, his wife's uncle works at a nursing facility or something, said, hey, we have some extra doses, why don't you come down and get one? So he did. So there's going to be those as well. It's going to cause some eye rolling and cause some consternation, but it seems like we ought to be able to get, even if there's extra doses, that we got to use them up before they go bad kind of thing. We don't want to waste them. There's got to be a way to get those into more vulnerable people, you'd think. I don't know. Maybe it's easier said than done kind of situation. I don't know. So anyway, that's the coronavirus news for today. I'm going to take a short pause and have just a couple of news items for you. Nothing too major on the other side of the break here. But we will be back in just about 30 seconds. Stay with us. All right. So today on the website, Madison365.org, we have a really nice feature from Malik Anderson about this new radio station in Milwaukee. Just launched. It's a Good Karma Brands. So if you're listening to radio in Madison or Milwaukee, you probably listen to a Good Karma station. They've got a whole bunch of radio stations. But this one it's called The Truth, 101.7. It's Black centered, right? The entire lineup. 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. is Black voices, right? So these two here are the Milwaukee Bucks radio hosts, the in-game hosts, and they've got their own show. They've got a former Milwaukee retired police lieutenant has a show. Tory Boyd has a show. Activist type person has a show. Sherwin Hughes has a show. So it's really important. I mean, we're a media outlet that covers communities of color. We understand that these voices are important, and it's great to see, and I hope it goes well. So read that story. There's a link there to listen online if you want to listen online to the radio station, or if you're in Milwaukee, just tune to 101.7 and check it out. We lost two legends in the last 24 hours as well. Cicely Tyson, you might have heard about. Cicely Tyson was an actress whose career spanned 7 decades. I mean, to go back to the 1950s was her first times in movies. She refused to participate in the blaxploitation films of the 60s, so she didn't do a lot there in that period of time. But her big star turn was in Sounder in 1972. She got nominated for Best Actress, Golden Globe and an Oscar for that. She's won 3 Primetime Emmys, 4 Black Reel Awards, 1 Screen Actors Guild Award, 1 Tony Award. The Tony Award is remarkable to me. It was 2013. Like to be nominated for your first Oscar in 1972 and then win a Tony in 2013. That's a career, right? And she always refused to play a drug addict or a prostitute or anything that felt like exploitative or stereotyped. She just wouldn't do it. Just would not touch it. So she was passed away last night at the age of 96. What a life. The other legend we lost today is a Philadelphia legend, legendary coach John Chaney, basketball coach at Temple. Forever and ever and ever. I shouldn't say forever, from a long time, 24 years at Temple. He passed away at the age of 89. He won an NCAA Division II title with Chaney University, different Chaney. The university is not named after him, it's spelled differently, but it's an HBCU in Philadelphia. And they won the Division II title. And then he moved out of Temple in 1982. While he was at Temple in 24 years, he won 516 games, made the Elite Eight in the NCAA tournaments 5 times. And he passed away this morning. This morning or last night. It was announced this morning at the age of 89. So that's the news for today. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. If there's any big news, I'll pop on tomorrow. But otherwise, I'll let you enjoy your weekend. And I hope you have a good one. And we'll see you again soon. Take care.
This is 365 Media.